Welcome to another bonus edition of Upon Further Review.
Upon further review,
And in this edition, we'll be talking about the Washington Redskins at the Philadelphia Eagles. This Week 3 matchup happens on September 21st at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can catch that on your local Fox affiliates. So this game right here, we got NFC East rivals going at it as the Redskins going to Philadelphia to face the Eagles, and the Eagles have started off this season 2-0. The Redskins are actually 1-1, which is pretty amazing that they actually even have won a game. Of course, that was against Jacksonville. RG3 went down, and Kirk Cousins came in through 250 yards and led the Redskins to victory. Of course, it was the defense that really was the story in Week 2 for Washington, is their defense racked up 10 sacks against the Jaguars. And that was what led them to win that game 41-10, as they won that one by 31 points in a rout. As that was pretty stunning to see the Redskins put up those kinds of numbers. In Week 1, they lost in Houston to the Texans, and they lost by 11 points, 17-6. The Texans have a really, good running game and a really good defense. And Jacksonville, though, they beat them up pretty bad, but the Jaguars really are not that competitive. Of course, the Eagles, on the other hand, they are very competitive. We saw they beat Jacksonville. Of course, they were down to the Jaguars 17-0, but then they came back and scored 34 unanswered points to win that game as Nick Foles went out to throw 322 passing yards. He also put up 300 plus against the Colts in Week 2 when he threw for 331 passing yards, and they won that game as they came back to win it by a field goal, 30-27 on Monday Night Football. So the Eagles have made it exciting for their fans there in Philadelphia for sure, as they had to come from behind to win both of their games. But that's not going to be the case this Sunday, as they should be able to win this game and win it pretty easily. But then again, with the Eagles, you never know. It seems like as if this Eagle team never makes anything easy, and they like to win the hard way for some reason. For some reason, this team, even going back to last year, it seemed that they would fall behind to teams that they should have been beating, and then somehow something clicks, they turn it on in the second half. The Eagles are definitely a second half team. They come on strong and then come back, and I'll tell you, once they get rolling, this Eagles team can put the points on the board. It sometimes takes some time to get into their groove, but when they do, watch out, because they can score, and they can score quick. I mean, LaShawn Shady McCoy, the guy is one of the best runners in the league, if not the best. And then Darren Sproles is definitely a very good addition to their offense. Is this guy, he can run the ball and he can catch the ball. He's actually got the most receiving yards for the Philadelphia Eagles so far this season, first, and then second is Zach Ertz. So it's like you got a running back with 166 yards and 11 receptions. That's their leading receiver for Philadelphia. And then the next guy with yards is Zach Ertz with 163. And actually, the guy with the second most catches is LaShawn McCoy. So the top two, guys to get receptions are both running backs. And the top two guys in terms of yards, neither one's a receiver. Jeremy Maclin is their leading receiver with 142 yards off of 8 catches. What does this mean? That means that Nick Foles spreads the ball around. He's already struggled more this year with turnovers than last year. I mean, last year he had an amazing run where he was just throwing touchdown passes, not throwing interceptions, and eventually he did throw one, threw two actually, I think, in that game when he finally threw one. He has 2 already this year. He's got 3 touchdowns, though, and he's thrown for over 300 yards in both games. He's thrown the ball 82 times, so I mean, if he's airing it out, he's throwing the ball a lot. They're a pass-heavy team. They've only run the ball 60 times so far this season. So the onus definitely is on that run. They run a very fast, high-paced offense. That's Chip Kelly. He came from Oregon. Before that, he was in New Hampshire. He's always run a really fast-paced offense, as I'm sure people are familiar with from watching him in his days with the Ducks. But he's brought that excitement to Philadelphia. They don't necessarily run like an option like they did in Oregon with the running back and the quarterback, and then there was kind of like a mix of, the option and the run and shoot. it's not exactly that. Whereas they actually, they have the running backs and Nick Foles don't really run. But this offense, though, I'm saying, they're dangerous, and you never really know like who do you defend because every single guy on the field for Philadelphia seems to be a playmaker. They lost Deshaun Jackson, but they ain't missing him. Because Jeremy Maclin, he can make them plays too. And with Darren Sproles, Sean McCoy, Zach Ertz, Riley Cooper, Brent Selleck, even though he hasn't really got anything going so far this year, but he can block, and that's important too. And their defense, the defense is pretty good. They're not that bad for sure. They, you know, it's interesting their defense. The jury's kind of still out on them as they've let up some points, but they've got talent. And as the season goes on, I expect them to just get better and start not letting up so many points. Of course, if they let up the points like they did in the first 2 weeks, they let them 17 points to Jacksonville, but that was in the first half. So that's the thing, you gotta kind of curtail that. They left the 27 points to Indianapolis, so they gotta get that number down. Can't let Washington start getting some points on the board. We've seen Washington scored 41 there against Jacksonville last week, so they do seem to have figured out how to score there in Washington. Of course, I see that coming to a quick end in this week here in Philadelphia is the Eagles should beat the Redskins. This game has the potential to be close, but I really think the Eagles win this one by at least one score, possibly more. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Interested to hear what you got to say. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, as we will bring you content on an almost daily basis.